Yeah, and this is one of the most challenges that African men and African women are facing, where kumadiri kwangu you're not supposed to come. Let's to make sure that the fridge is pegged, the house, the kids are going to school, whatever I do, leave it. Is there a moment, Dr. Kwatiz, where you have just your side pockets, madire kubasa, asingazikanwa kumba? Be honest.
I think side dues, they'll always be there. Because if you don't have side dues, how can you ever surprise your wife? So there's some dues that you also have to know. And I want to believe there is some dues that she also does that probably I might not know. But I think not knowing is different from hiding. Do you get what I'm saying? I think there's two different things. So it's then just trying to differentiate the two. But I think in any normal, I think setup, each and every person has got some things that they may just do and probably forget to let the other because it's not that material. So I also want to believe that a marriage should not also be like you are in a jail or you are in an environment where there is curtain line of everything. I think it's supposed to be natural.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be enjoyable. It's supposed to be you're supposed to feel free to do what you think makes sense at any given time. So I think it shouldn't be hard and fast to say, okay, you've done this, you've done that. But if there's a shared value, like what I've said, in goal congruence, you don't really worry to say, oh, okay, someone can even tell you after 2 months, I managed to do this deal and I made this 2 months late, and you never have an issue with it. Because you know that if they make money or whatever they do, it's always for the common good for the family. So you never really get to worry. So I think accountability of saying I want to see how much you have made and whatever, it in most cases is because there is no responsibility, not really trust. There is no sign of showing responsibility. Once that is there, then someone is concerned that you know what, probably you've got money. The things that we're failing to do is because you're irresponsible. And I think those are some of the issues that are there. So for me, that's basically how I see it. But once money becomes the center of any relationships, then there is always problems.
Wow.
Yeah, there's always problems.
Hey, time is moving. He's always jealous of us, but
Yeah.
probably towards the end of this section, let's talk about money on family matters. She has got relatives. You've got relatives. How do you assist if there is a need, especially someone coming from your side or her side? How do you distribute money or help to your spouses? I mean, your relatives as a couple.
Yeah. So I think it's also to do with with principles that you live in. I think we have also grown up as Christians, and I think one of the most important things that guide us is our Christian values. That you have to give, you have to help, whether it's family or whether it's not family. And I think for us in that area, it has never also been an issue. If my family members have got problems, she just takes care of it. And sometimes I don't even know. She just do it, and I'm actually surprised. Oh, I was assisted by this, and she'd have never told me to do that. So if there's issues in your family, she, we just get it done, and she just gets it done as well. So I think for us, it has never really been an issue to help, either of the families, and it's never really a discussion really to say, who does what. If there's a need, we just help here. If there's a need, we just help here on terms of what is needed. Once we have the resources, we help, and we do that. So each side, it's what we do. But I think to always make things easy, I think in this kind of setup, it's always easy for one to take an active interest in the other, side as well. So it means I take an interest from your family side. She takes an interest of my family side. It always brings that balance. But I think from our side, I think it's not always an issue in terms of that. But I think, like I said, it depends. Like what has been said before, I think it's phases. I think they come a time in life where you reach a phase where helping a relative is not something that you even talk about. And you just help. You don't even need to tell me. So if she's helping my brother or my sister, she doesn't even tell me that she has helped my brother or my sister, and the vice versa. So it's not even something that we really sit down to think about or talk about, because it's all family, and whichever way, it's either I'm going to do it or she's going to do it. It just has to be done at the end of the day. So that's how I would want to look at it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because of time, we just want to enter into question and answer segments. Then we do our closure. Is there anyone who's got a question? You're free to ask.
Whilst someone is thinking of a question, I just need to add on to what he's saying. To say in our case, I strongly believe that default settings kind of played a part in terms of how we assist our in-laws, because immediately after our wedding, we had 3 children immediately, and these were from his family. Now, because they had come to stay with us full time, I would like to believe that he was such a wise man back then to avoid issues. So what he then did now was then to clearly communicate right from the beginning to say, if you need anything, go to her, because these were his people. And I would like to believe that those default settings are what then shaped this that we are talking about today, because right from the start, it was the case where when it's his people, they come to me, because I was staying with his people in the house. And for them to be going to him and anything, I would like to believe that as a man who wanted peace, he just had to find the best way that can give him the peace. And then it continued like that. Then it was never an issue. And now, because I had been entrusted with that responsibility of deciding what to do to whom, when, and how much, I then had to take it upon myself to make sure that I balance between the families so that I don't break this trust that was given to me.
Wow. Now, in the event that, God forbid, in the event that both of you are no longer there, what's the future of your enterprises? What structures are there?
So in terms of business, I think for me, I always believe that a business is a separate entity. It's a human being on its own. And how we are building any of the businesses that we are building is so that they are able to evolve themselves without necessarily having to have any of us running those businesses. So I think we are not 100% there. It's some of the things that you are putting in place now, but the whole aspect is to make sure that a business runs on its own. Is to put the right systems, the right personalities, and to understand from the onset that a business is a separate persona from you, the owner. So you've got the owner and you've got the business. I think the problem is always when we mix the owner and the business as one thing. Once you do that, when the owner dies, the business dies, because it's always joint. So what is critical is to make sure that these two things are separate. You can be an owner of a business. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to run the business. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to even be part of the business sometimes. So for us, I think that is what is very clear in terms of that when we are building a business and how we are scaling the businesses even now, is scaling them in mind to say, you know what, this thing has to run itself. You have to empower people, and you have to build systems, and you have to build a structure that the business run on its own. So I think that's the challenge that we have, mostly us as Black people. We can't separate our businesses from ourselves. We want to be known that this is me who's doing this business. And it's and it's not really necessary sometimes. So we need, it's okay for someone to be the face of the business as long as they can run the business well and they are making sure that the business is evolving and making money. You can still be the shareholder of the business. So I think it's a mind shift, and I think it's something that we have also grasped to say, you know what, as we build and scale our businesses, they're supposed to be able to run on their own. So you can't set a business in a foreign country because you are not there. You can't, you are not there to watch it. You have to rely on systems. You have to rely on processes. And once you are able to do that, then it means even anything happens to you, the business will still run on their own because the systems and structures that you have put beyond you as the founders or the shareholders of the business.
Yeah. Dr. Ayrton, anything to add on that?
In terms of structures, it's also to involve other stakeholders, other shareholders that are not necessarily family. For instance, talking of the hub HR, in as much as one of the major shareholders, there are also other shareholders that are not necessarily him. What that then entails is, in my absence, at least there are other people with similar interest that will continue to run business. But my shares, if I'm not there, they pass on to my children, they pass on to their children. But we balance it out by having other people who are not necessarily family who can then continue to run the business in my absence. So for me, I believe it's just putting those structures where it's not about having 100% shareholding. I know there's always the temptation and the excitement to say, I've got 100% shareholding. But the risk that comes with that, when you collapse 100%. Yeah. But when it's shared responsibility, shared everything, then it helps to balance it out and it comes with continuity as well.
Wow. That leads me again to one of the most critical questions that affects especially African businesses. We posted a post on our Facebook page, Young Founders Foundation. I think last month that there were a lot of people, especially Africans, saying what you are saying is trash. The lady had just said, separate your relatives from becoming part of your business. So you have got relatives, most of them, not maybe some are educated, but most of them, they are not just coming, they're in the village. You're running companies, you've got an empire that you're running as a couple, and some of them are not employed, but they know nothing about whatever you're doing. And they want to be part of your business. How do you deal with that? Because especially in Africa right now, you are running your business with your wife successfully, but you've got relatives that are not employed and they are not even connected to what you are doing.
I think it's gone are the days when you just employ someone because it's your relative. So I always have got a principle. I think we have gone that route as well. At some point, you have employed a lot of relatives. You're trying to help people that you grew up in the community with. You're trying to help your relatives, but it hasn't really worked out so well. I think whenever we have done it, we often have been bent, because in most cases, you are employing someone because they are capable, not because they are capable. You're employing them because they're relatives, because you are feeling sorry about them. But I have got a principle where I say, you know what, I would rather come and give you money than to bring you to my business so that you destroy the business. Because if the business is destroyed, we are both broke. I don't have money, you don't have money. So I would rather choose to have money. And if I've got a relative who is seriously in need, I don't have a problem in going and saying every month, here's the $200. I think you save your business than actually having someone who's not skilled to actually do something in your business, but they're just going to kill your business. So business is not about empathy. It's about doing things the right way. You need to have the right people in the right places for the business to actually do well. So we have made these mistakes, and we have paid huge school fees for it. If lost so much money, other businesses could have probably closed. Why? Because there's relatives everywhere. You think that if I've got relatives, maybe people are not going to steal from me. Okay? The only way to protect a business from people from stealing is putting the right systems and controls. Not to say I will put a person. A person is a person.
And the person is
Yes.
probably the thief.
And the person is probably the thief. Or they can be, influenced. So I think that is the problem. You cannot finish all your problems from your family. So you can assist in some, but to finish all of them, I don't know. You probably need billions of dollars to be able to do that. So for me, I think businesses have to be run professionally if we are going to build, big enterprises in Africa. We have to start to recognize businesses as separate entities, and we have to start to recognize businesses as separate personas instead of just mixing them. I think it's a culture shift that we just have to embrace, that a business is a business. You take care of it, you run it well with the right people, it does well, and you have money to help all your relatives instead of bringing them in. So if they are qualified, they can do the job, no problem. The problem is when you bring someone who's not qualified because they are relatives, then there is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.